Hello, hello. Welcome to the stream. David Snowpick here from Snowpick Games. I can see we've also got Nyanel and Jacob or Jakub or however you do your Jacob. Welcome, guys. I'm a little confused about my character and Nyanel's character. Like, are those beards? Are we wearing beards? I am not sure. My character also appears to have like one of those like one-armed pieces of armor. I think you put it on your front arm or something to do with sword fighting. I don't know. And Jakub here has got maybe a goatee. A lot of facial hair going on. Hey Gulliver, welcome to the stream. You got a pretty cool character, an orc with a sweet axe. I am unarmed, unless that other white thing by my hand is some sort of weapon. I don't know. My character is confusing. All right, I'm going to attempt to get our stream overlay acting more like an overlay. Please hold while I do that. By the way, this overlay is a Godot game that we built on stream last summer. I guess it's coming up on a year now. What is the button? What is the button? There we go. That's the button. I need to move this over here. But yeah, this is a Godot game that we built on stream. And using some art from Nyanel to make our random little characters here. I think I have to press one more thing. All right, let me know if the overlay is actually working. I certainly hope so. Gulliver says, hey, Snowpack, I discovered Unity animator component literally stops working because of rollback. Unity is hell. That's what I hear. I actually don't know all that much about Unity. I managed to get the Unity editor running under Linux once, and then I never opened it again. So I have zero experience with Unity. Jakub says, I thought my character was a duck. But maybe it is a goatee. Yeah, I mean, possibly an orc-duck combo. You were synthesized together. All right, so how's everyone else doing today? How's by you? Here it is insanely hot. We went from it just kind of never getting warm. We still had snow at like the end of April, beginning of May, but now it's like 90 degrees out, and my kids are actually out of school because of the heat. So if there's suddenly a visit from my children, that is why. But yeah, how are your guys' projects doing? What have you guys been up to? I've been not doing like a ton of coding and building lately. I've been just like releasing a ton of content. I don't know if you guys have noticed, I did like 2 videos and 2 articles in the last 2 weeks, like 4 things. I don't know. I felt inspired. Nyanel wants to do a brief explanation of annotations. Okay, so we were discussing on Discord before the stream started that a bunch of keywords in Godot 4 have become annotations. In particular, the onReady keyword. Let me launch actually a Godot 4 instance. Hit enter too early. And we'll load up alpha 8. This way I can make sure I'm actually talking about the right things. Because I'll be able to use the syntax highlighting to know that I'm actually typing sense and not just making stuff up. So let's go to this script and we can type some things. So I think the in Godot 3 onReady was a keyword, and now it is, come on. Why does the home button not do anything interesting? Now it's an annotation. You put this little thing in front of it, and you do basically the same thing. onReady var blah equals blah. And a couple of other things to become annotations. Tool is now an annotation. The keywords that you put on like methods that you're going to send RPCs to become annotations, and their names have changed too. So I'm not sure I remember exactly what they are now. So it used to be that you'd say like master func and then a function. I can't call it func because that's a keyword. But now they have totally different names, and they are annotations. And I guess Nyanel's, oh yeah, export is also an annotation now. So Nyanel's question on Discord, I think, was like, why are they annotations, and what's the deal with annotations? Why even have annotations? I think the motivation for Godot in particular was to, static is still a keyword, but I think the motivation for the Godot maintainers was that there were a lot of keywords and kind of this proliferation of keywords. They wanted to have less of them. So they made all of the ones that aren't like core to the language. Ooh, thank you for bringing. Ooh, who bringed me? Who subscribed? Let me know. I can thank you by name. Yeah, it was to make those two annotations. The really interesting thing about annotations, the reason that I like annotations in other programming languages is because you can make up your own annotations and give them your own meanings in your own programs. You cannot do that yet in GDScript. Oh, and annotations take arguments too. So I don't think export does, but you know, annotations in different programming languages can take arguments, and you can make up those arguments and then have some way to look up what those values are from your own code and you know, do interesting things with them. But like I said, in GDScript currently, there's just these annotations that were defined by Godot core. But in the future, I believe the plan is to allow you to create custom annotations, which I'm excited about. Does that answer your question, I know? Hey, Smail Lebo, welcome to the stream. What kind of character did you get? Ooh, you got like a king crown, and I can't tell what you're holding in your hand. It looks more like a hoe. You're an agricultural king, one with the people, out there in the fields, hoeing away. Jakub says, how stable is the latest Godot 4 alpha in your experience? I did a little bit of testing in earlier versions, but there seem to be a lot of regressions between updates. There are still a lot of regressions between updates. I've been working on porting the Nakama client from Godot 3 to Godot 4 so that it's ready for when Godot 4 finally comes out. I am sponsored by Heroic Labs, creators of Nakama, to do this work. And you know, the next alpha comes, I'm like, yes, it will fix that bug that I've been custom compiling Godot 4 in order to, you know, continue my work. And the new alpha comes, and yeah, that bug is fixed, but there's a totally new one that also breaks everything. So I think every alpha still, it's, you know, some things will be fixed and some things will be broken. It is, you know, for being like a complete rewrite and the amount of things that they're changing, it's actually remarkably stable. But as far as actually getting real work done, it's still pretty unstable. If you're going to use Godot 4, you know, it should be because you want to kind of see what all the fuss is about and see what's going on in Godot 4, or, you know, you're going to be finding bugs and reporting them to help it get to stability. I really wouldn't recommend creating like an actual game in it at this point, even like a game jam game, maybe especially a game jam game, because like in a game jam game, you also have that time pressure. And, you know, the fact that you could suddenly realize that something really basic just totally doesn't work. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to finish this? There was, it's still actually not fixed, but Logan, who may or may not turn up at the stream at some point. Hey, Ray Indie Game, welcome to the stream. He was using Godot for a like little prototype project, and we discovered that the like order of the data in transform, like in a basis of a transform, was like reversed from Godot 3 when it wasn't supposed to be, and like this really fundamental thing is just totally wrong and weird and still needs to be fixed. So there's lots of stuff like that. What's everybody saying? 9L says, in a way, I don't know how we could have custom annotations yet. I guess we shall see. And let's see if you manage with the new change quickly. They added TTS to Godot now. Yeah, so that's exciting. TTS meaning like text-to-speech, which I think will help with accessibility in Godot. Godot has probably better accessibility than many game engines, but still, like, a lot could be done. And by accessibility, I don't mean like you know, gamers and game developers talk about accessibility as far as like new players coming in, that kind of thing. I mean accessibility in the sense of people with disabilities being able to develop games. What else is going on? Install your own voice packs, consistent player, that would be cool. Yeah, it would be cool. Hey, The Clean, welcome to the stream. I gotta see what all the characters we got. Oh, The Clean is ready for battle. You are armed, but no weapon though. You're gonna have to clobber an enemy and take their weapon. What does Ray Indie Game got? I don't entirely comprehend what's going on by your cheekbones there. It almost looks like you have like horns growing out of your cheekbones. Otherwise, I think you might be a villager rocking a fro and a dress. why Godot is still weak comparing with Unreal. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Was that a question, or are you making a point? Little clarification I need on that one, Smaileba. I'll just wait until beta. I've been using Godot betas and they worked fine because Unreal has billions and billions of funding. Why Godot is still weak comparing with Unreal or Unity in 3D games? I mean, Godot has its what it's going for, which is a little bit different than what Unreal and Unity are going for. I think Godot 4 is really going to up its game as far as 3D, but Godot's going to keep being Godot, right? Like, I don't think there's going to be a point where, we're making demos like the Unreal 5 demos in Godot, or, I mean, I guess without like massive customization, I don't think like we're going to be seeing AAA studios with 1,000-person teams coming to Godot. That's still going to be the territory of engines like Unreal. But Godot, for us, I think is going to allow us to create much more impressive things with small teams on a relatively small scale than we were with previous versions. I do not intend to work on a game with a 1,000-person team. Do you? I don't know. So I'm good. Godot is a niche engine still. Yeah, I mean, as far as niche engines, I feel like we're the most well-known niche engine, perhaps. Maybe not. Maybe Construct, or like other ones are. Well, I mean, Game Maker 2 is also kind of like in a similar niche. But yeah, I mean, every tool has its place. Godot is my favorite tool for many more reasons than just technical ones too. As like technically minded people, I think there's this tendency to overly focus on the technical. The fact that Godot is open source, I kind of treat it like it's my engine. I mean, I contribute fixes if I need to. I can go in there and look at the source code. I can change the source code. Like, that's a huge advantage to me, even if all of the other engines, Unreal, Unity, whatever, remain technically superior till the end of time. The fact that I have some amount of ownership, some amount of participation in the project is worth a ton to me. For me, it's way beyond the technical. No, we are except GMS. You want to take ownership of Godot? You know what I mean. We all own Godot together. All of us, the whole community. All right, so yeah, this stream, last stream, we were working on my VR Voxel Builder prototype, which I still really want to work on. I haven't worked on it at all since last week because, like I said, I've been focusing on content creation. But this stream, we're going to be taking a break from the VR Voxel Builder prototype to just do some open source stuff. While I'm talking about how open source is so important to me, I mean, we're going to be doing open source stuff today. There are 2 open source projects that I maintain. SG Physics 2D, which is my deterministic physics engine for Godot. It's used in my Retro Tank Party game, so that I could have deterministic physics for the Rollback Netcode, and then the Godot Rollback Netcode add-on, which is an add-on to assist in implementing Rollback Netcode in a Godot game. I've kind of fallen behind on support requests and fixing bugs and looking at issues, and so I was going to use this stream as a way to motivate myself to do that. If I plan that as the focus of the stream, well, I'm guaranteed to work on it for 2 hours. Because I love people testing and reporting bugs and asking for help and all of those things, because it makes the projects better, and I'm happy to do it. But sometimes you just want to write games and not fix bugs. So sometimes it's hard to motivate myself to work on it. So this is an attempt to do that. Also, I'm going to participate in the Godot Wild Jam this week. The theme will be announced, I believe, at 3 p.m. my time. It might be 3 p.m. someone else's time. Let's go take a look. It's Godot Wild Jam number 45. But that basically means I'm going to work on nothing but this game jam in my free time. I mean, I'm still going to do work for money or whatever, feed my family. But I'm not going to have time for my other personal projects or my open source stuff for the length of this game jam going from today till May 22nd. So I figured this would be a good topic for this stream to kind of whittle down my backlog of things, so I'm not totally abandoning everyone. I guess so. 4 hours and 44 minutes. So what time would that make that my time? The 45 minutes would take us to 11. 4 hours ago, yeah, 3 p.m. 3 p.m. my time. And I should already be in the jam. Do I have to click this button again? I have joined the jam. I thought I already joined the jam. Well, I guess now it's official. Now I'm officially in the jam. Anyone else planning to participate in the Godot Wild Jam? York mine now? I'm not really sure I understand that reference. Do you get some support on your open source projects? Any contributions? Do you want to partner? So yeah, I do get some contributions. BIMDAV probably is the biggest contributor to both SGPhysics 2D and the Godot Rollback Netcode add-on. There have been maybe some minor other contributions to SGPhysics 2D. It's in C++, so that makes it a little bit less accessible for developers to contribute to it. And then the Godot Rollback Netcode add-on, I've gotten a whole bunch of other contributions from other folks as well. The biggest and most interesting still coming from BIMDAV. But yeah, I would love more contributions, more people helping out. All of the most interesting improvements have come either from contributions or from people complaining about things, maybe, and then me thinking about it and being like, oh, well, that's a great idea. We need to do that. So it's super super wonderful getting that from the open source community. I did a release of Retro Tank Party a couple of weeks ago, and the only changes to it were things that other people had contributed, and it was just so cool to take this game that I'd already released, already put my own code into, and then to come back a bunch of months later, put in all those updates and be like, my game is measurably better now than it was, 3 months ago or 4 months ago, however long it was between the releases. And none of the work was mine. All the work was from you guys. Not sure if I have the time, but I might participate in something small. Not sure what the rules of that jam are, though. Yeah, the rules of the jam. The theme is going to be announced at 3 p.m. The wild cards as well. The rules are relatively simple. You got to create something new-ish. I think there's some exceptions for things that were maybe started a little bit or reusing parts of older games or whatever. But you make a new thing in 9 days, trying to adhere to the theme. Although, honestly, I participated, I think, 4 times in the Godot Wild Jam, and there are always 1 or 2 games that don't follow the theme at all, but are like amazing, just like really wonderful games. So I don't know, following the theme, probably you should do it if you want to win. But in any case, it's a great motivation to work on stuff together with a whole bunch of other really awesome people. I don't know how many people are signed up for the jam so far. 350. It's a great jam. Wonderful people, wonderful community. Join the Discord if you participate and hang out there. But yeah. Oof. Let's get started, guys. Unless you guys have any other updates on your projects or anything else you want to share, I'm always excited to hear about what you guys have been working on. Otherwise, the first thing I wanted to look at was some issues reported by Celius, who for some reason in my brain I always want to call Celiush, but I don't know why. But he had some issue with his game. He says, hello, I'm having issues with the Rollback Netcode plugin. When I go to spawn a scene, it doesn't work as expected. It spawns for like 1 frame and then disappears. Any help would be greatly appreciated. And then he posts this little bit of code, which unfortunately doesn't show anything that would clue into this problem. He has this retrieve wave data method. You might not be able to see it because it's really tiny. Let me zoom. Which I guess gets whatever data about the enemies that are going to be spawned, which calls the spawn enemy method, which does some spawning, and all of that looks good. That code looks fine. Nyanel says, are you going to port your plugin later on? You mean port it to Godot 4? Absolutely, if that is the question. The SGPhysics 2D, I want to turn into a GD extension in Godot 4. Right now, it's a Godot module, which means you have to recompile all of Godot. It'll be awesome to make it in GD extension. And then the Rollback Netcode add-on is written in GD script, so it should be pretty easy. Just change all the syntax, bring it over to Godot 4. But I do intend to port the Godot Rollback Netcode add-on to C++ at some point. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll do that straight to GD extension rather than taking a little detour into module land with Godot 3. I don't know. But yes, I absolutely do intend to port those. I'm really excited to learn GD extension, and so this will be a fun excuse to do it. Anyway, so Celius did send me his full project, which I have loaded up somewhere. Over here, it looks like he is making a tower defense type thing. And I haven't done anything in it yet other than press play and click play locally, and then it doesn't do anything. And I don't know if the doesn't do anything is the bug, if that's the bug manifesting itself, or if I actually have to click something, or I don't know, to get the bug to occur. So unless Celius turns up and tells us how to reproduce the bug, I think we're going to have to resign ourselves to just looking at the code, but perhaps we'll be able to figure it out by looking at the code. And, oh, here we go. Here's some dudes coming. Here's some scorpions. The scorpions are coming at us. Which makes it seem like maybe it's working. Maybe the problem only shows up when playing online, but we can maybe get it to manifest by enabling some debug options. So the Godot Rollback Netcode add-on has a bunch of project settings. Oh no, he's got rollback ticks and rollback random ticks enabled. So what these debug options mean is that every single frame, it is going to roll back a random number of ticks between 4 and 10. So if there is some problem that is triggered by rollbacks, like we should be rolling back just like a whole ton of times, it should be triggered. He's got a custom message serializer. Let's take a peek at this custom message serializer, just because I'm curious about how other people write custom message serializers. Ooh, and this opened it up in like not the VS Code I intended. I don't know if you guys saw the article I wrote on Wednesday. I made a little script to help open up the code in the right VS Code instance, but it depends on you having a workspace. And I did not set up a workspace for Celius' project here. I'm just going to take a peek. Okay, it looks like his message serializer is basically copy and pasted from the demo one. And seems fine. Seems good. It's got a spawn enemy input, place tower input. That's interesting, treating the enemy spawns as input. I mean, that should be fine, right? If one of the players is the host, and it's periodically generating, or I'm sorry, if the host is the player that's responsible for like controlling the match, and it's occasionally generating this like spawn enemy input, that would totally work. If I had done it, I probably would have used a network random number generator and generated random numbers that would be deterministically generated on all of the different players in the match, and do the enemy spawning that way. But this seems like a fine approach. So yeah, this looks good. Let's move on to solving the actual problem here, which again I'm still not entirely sure how to trigger. But let's take a look at his code. So the code from the screenshot, I tracked down where this is from and opened it up in VS Code here. It's in this worlds.gd. Here's the code. Here's the code from that picture. We have retrieve wave data. We have spawn enemies. It is calling sync manager spawn. There's a bunch of yields here, which is worrying. You really should not yield in any code that is being called by the network process method from the Godot Rollback Netcode add-on, because the way the add-on works is it kind of like loops over all of the ticks that you need to run in that frame, and expects to finish all of them and then do some bookkeeping for the rollback. If you yield, you're going to be immediately returning control back to Godot, back to the game engine, and moving on to the next frame. So you won't actually finish all of the work that you need to do. So that's a little interesting there. Those are commented out, though. I see a not commented out yield up here. So the yields could potentially be the problem. I also saw that the start next wave is kicked off by this ready method, which also seems potentially problematic. Let me take a look at comments here. Slovakia, how long are you streaming for? I totally thought it was later for some reason. Yeah, you noticed the same thing I was just looking at. The yield in 66 is coming down, but not 48. I am streaming for the next approximately hour and a half, and then I have to go do real work. And yeah, I hope I sometimes mess up the time conversion to UTC, so I hope I didn't mess it up in my announcement. But anyway, the ready function for this world script is kicking off start next wave, which is worrying to me because this ends in sync manager spawn, which should only be called after we have already started the sync manager. We should not be spawning things with sync manager spawn if the sync manager hasn't been started, and the sync manager doesn't get started until like the match is all connected. So this might be spawning way too early. That could also be a potential problem. What is actually, how does this node get added to the scene? Okay, wait. Okay, I think that script is actually attached to this world 1 node. I think I may have actually tracked this down earlier. Stop opening over here. Whatever, it's fine. So yeah, this world 1 GD inherits from that worlds.gd. Yeah, so that's another thing. Okay, so I guess Celius, you might have to take some notes. First note, do not yield on signals in code that's going to be part of running a tick. That should not be done. Also, do not call sync manager spawn outside of the sync manager having been started. So that is potentially a problem. And thinking about the problem, actually, so the problem that you're seeing, even though we can't seem to recreate it, is that it is spawning all of the enemies and then a frame later despawning them. So if you are only calling start next wave once ever, that makes a lot of sense why you're seeing that behavior. So the spawn manager will spawn all of the things you need to spawn, and then if a rollback goes before the tick that those objects were spawned on, it will despawn them. Because when it's resimulating the ticks again, they may not actually be created. Maybe the prediction was wrong, so on the resimulation, those things won't be created, which is why it despawns when you roll back. So what you need to have happen is on the tick where start new wave is called, you need to make sure that it is always called on that tick. So let's say on tick 1, you're calling start new wave. If you roll back to tick 1, you need to make sure that start new wave is called again, that it happens every single time on tick number 1 deterministically. Because if it isn't, if it's only being called once ever, once you've rolled back to tick number 1 and it doesn't spawn those objects again, they're gone, right? So that actually may be your entire problem. Let's first look into what is calling, I just want to know the order of things. What is the order of things? So you have your main GD here, which looks like basically a copy of the demo project. And how do we actually kick off a match? Like, how do we start things up here? Slovakia, I wonder if there's a way to allow for that. Maybe if the sync manager is not started and you spawn on it, it queues the spawn for tick number 1. Yeah, that is a thing we could do. Although, I don't know if... So that issue number 15 that we talk about on Discord a lot, that will be starting on a not tick number 1 on some other tick, and like pre-spawning things would be pretty weird in that context. I think limiting it to saying you can't spawn things unless the sync manager is actually running makes a lot of sense, because you don't know like anything about what's going on until the sync manager has been started. so yeah, I think that restriction still makes sense. I think Celius might just have to modify his code to not start spawning things using the sync manager spawn method until the sync manager has been started. You certainly can spawn things before the match starts to get into the initial state of the match, but you wouldn't do it with sync manager spawn. You would just create it. So like, for example, in Retro Tank Party, before the match starts, the host tells all of the peers in the match like what map we're going to be starting on, the different settings that were used for that map, so that all of the peers can prepare their initial state. Of course, deterministically, they'll all get exactly the same initial state because they're all using the exact same settings. And then we start the match and start playing. But all of those things that are set up before we start the match are not done with sync manager spawn. They're just created normally to get that initial state set up. So yeah, 3 things for you, Celius. What were they again? It was right. So the yields, the spawning things before the sync manager has started, and making sure that when you're starting the next wave, it is deterministically called on that tick every single time. If you address those 3 problems, I think one of those will be the thing that gets this working for you. And if not, feel free to come on the Discord and let us all know what's going on now. So Slovakia is very excited for issue number 15. For those who don't know, issue number 15 is about... so this is issue number 15 for the Godot Rollback Netcode add-on. It's about the ability to have players join a match mid-match, which is currently not supported, and allowing players to disconnect and then reconnect. So far, Retro Tank Party is a great game for the Godot Rollback Netcode add-on because the matches are really, really short, like 5 minutes, sometimes less. So joining mid-match or getting disconnected or whatever isn't a huge deal. If you have a game with much longer matches, that would be a pretty big deal. So we want to be able to support that. There's nothing theoretically stopping us. We just have to do the work, implement it, get it done. All right, so that was Celius's issue. Let's not save. Let's move on to the next thing. So SG Physics 2D has been acquiring quite a few issues lately, and they're all good things, all very good things. Let's see what it makes sense to implement. So we've got this modify/add API to allow for data on SG collision shape when getting collisions from SG area. So I guess background for people who might not know, I don't know who all is watching the stream. SG Physics 2D is a deterministic physics engine for Godot. It's based on fixed point numbers rather than floating point numbers. That's how it achieves a big part of its determinism. There's other things involved, like the fact that the physics engine won't do anything until you ask it to, which is very important for determinism. If it just kind of did things at its own pace, you couldn't be sure that it wouldn't do something unexpected at an unexpected time. You need to be ready for when it's going to do its things, right? To make your code around it be deterministic. So one of the things that it does is it doesn't use signals to tell you about a collision, because you need to say SG Physics 2D, check if there's a collision here, and then immediately handle it. And one of the limitations is we have on our SG Area 2D node, you call get overlapping bodies. It gives you a list of the bodies. It does not give you the shapes that collided, which you do get in the built-in Godot physics engine from the signals. So this issue is basically about adding maybe another method like get overlapping area collisions, for example. We could change the name to that, or add a new method with a name like that, that would return, instead of just the areas, the bodies that collided, but some object that has both the body and the shape in it, something like that. I think that's a great idea that will allow for use cases that people have in the built-in physics engine to work in SG Physics 2D as well. Muno here went through the list of methods on the built-in Godot physics nodes and the SG Physics 2D ones, and made a list of some that that Muno would like to see on the SG. How many times can I say SG Physics 2D? On the SG Physics 2D bodies. Oh, this was an issue I added, but people are always asking about tile maps, how to do tile map collisions, and there is a way to do it, but like it would be great to have like something built in. Some simple math methods we're missing that folks want. There's some docs things I want to add. Some older stuff that I don't really want to deal with. Let's deal with some of these new things. Let's do this first one. I spent the most time talking about it. Let's make that worth it. Let's add a new method that allows users to get the shape for a particular collision. So, here is the VS Code window for SG Physics 2D. It's still got some stuff from that other project. I'm just going to close it. In fact, I'm just going to close all the open editors and we'll start opening things anew. Okay, so this affects, let's say, SG area 2D. Here is the header file for that. We just have these get overlapping areas, get overlapping bodies, and we want to add some new methods which are similar. We'll say get overlapping area collisions, get overlapping body collisions. And one of the issues in there, one of the ones I created, was to get rid of this sort argument and have it done in a different way. Which maybe while we're touching the same code, maybe we should implement that too. Or maybe we should implement that first, because that will make writing this code easier. So we have this sort argument, which gets passed to the get overlapping areas, get overlapping bodies, which, if true, it will sort the returned bodies in scene tree order, which is important because if you don't sort them, they could be returned in any kind of crazy order. And if the order is important for your game, that would mess up determinism, right? So we want them to be returned in a predictable order to support determinism, but sorting them takes a bunch of time. It slows things down. So if all you actually need is not to loop through the nodes, you just need like how many bodies it collided with. You could choose to pass false here and just count them, and then you're cool, because in this particular case, you don't need to know, the order doesn't matter. That doesn't affect determinism for your game, but allowing users to like kind of make this choice has proven to be a little bit difficult to explain. And rather than having to constantly explain it or like beef up the docs, I'm just going to remove it and add some methods that we cannot screw up. So my idea is we'll remove the sort argument. So it's always going to be sorted. And then we're going to add two new methods, which are get overlapping area count, get overlapping body count. I put too many C's there. And this is going to return an integer. So now in the use case where you only care about the number and not the order, we now just have a safe way to do that that is a whole lot less confusing. So let's go change that in the CPP file too. We will bind those extra methods. The way this works in Godot, you implement the C++ methods, and then you do this class DB bind method thing to essentially tell GDScript that the methods exist. So overlapping area count, overlapping body count. I'm going to get rid of, hang on, D2F quotation. That is a very fast set of keys you can press in with the Vim key bindings to delete just that chunk. Okay, we have almost bound these methods here. Step number 2. Salvakia, I don't know if you meant to or not, but I kind of appreciate that there is not music playing like most streamers do. I sort of meant to. Music is problematic, man. if I were to listen to music on the stream, I would have to make sure that it is not like copyright by anyone, like that it doesn't cause copyright problems. And like I just didn't want to deal with that. On some of my earliest streams, what I did actually was I had music playing through my headphones, but not to the stream. And that's kind of how I got to have some music. And of course, you guys can have music. You can play music like separately from the stream and listen to it that way. But I don't do that anymore. What I hear through my headphones is just my computer audio and a very slight mix of my own voice, so that I can, I don't know, hear what I sound like. I guess it's sort of a performance, right? So it's nice to be able to have a little bit of monitor on what my voice is sounding like. Salvaki is rocking out his own soundtrack. Yeah, when I'm programming like normally, I 100% of the time am listening to music, mostly radio, because I don't like having to constantly pick my music. I like my music just to happen. And there's a great radio station from Milwaukee, where I used to live, where I lived most of my life, but don't anymore, that I just stream over the internet. All right, so get overlapping areas, get overlapping bodies. All of this looks good. The way we've changed the binding here. I'm going to jump down to where these are defined. We need to remove the sort argument. And we need to just always be sorting. I think I'm going to keep this code around while I write the other methods really quickly. So those methods return an integer, area to D, get overlapping area count. So I'm going to just copy and paste this code, but then change this last bit to, rather than returning the array itself, we just return the size. We could even actually potentially make this code even faster by having a special array result handler that doesn't actually put the items on an array, it just counts them. But this is fine for now. So we did the area count and int sg area to D, get overlapping body count. And, oop, I actually did these wrong. This is the body count. And this is the area count. Hopefully, even for folks who do mostly, hopefully for folks who even do mostly GDScript, this is interesting, being able to see some of like the engine code in C++. Since this is implemented as a Godot module, it basically is part of the engine when it gets compiled. Hey, Gulliver, you're back! Where'd you go? Okay, I think these are basically the way they should be. Let's compile it. We will see if it works. We'll do a little bit of testing, and then we'll need to add some docs, and then we should be able to commit this, close out that one issue, and then we can move on to the original issue that we're going to work on, adding a new version of those two methods that returns an object with both the body and the shape, which we may, well, I think we'll actually have to change some of the internals of the physics engine in order to get that information. I don't remember exactly how the underlying get overlapping areas and get overlapping bodies works. Or maybe that'd just be a new result handler that we could use to get that information. I am not sure. We will figure it out together. But yeah, first things first, let's compile this. One of the disadvantages of doing a stream that involves C++ is we now have to wait for the compiling. What has everybody been playing lately? Anyone playing anything interesting? I've been mostly playing No Man's Sky in VR, which is what I've been playing for the last several weeks. And my save file says I've been playing it for 20.5 hours, which is probably not a lot for most gamers over the course of like 3 or 4 weeks, but for me that's a lot. I struggle to find times to play games when I'm spending, every free moment I have making games and having only so much free time. Hi, does the Vim in VS Code support plugins such as Easy Motion? I mean, it doesn't support Vim plugins, if that's what you mean. I don't know what Easy Motion is. Is that a Vim plugin or is that a VS Code extension? But the Vim key bindings, the Vim emulation in VS Code does work with other VS Code extensions. I have, I don't know, 25 or something VS Code extensions enabled. And for the most part, they interact well with the Vim extension. There was one I was using for a little while that interacted horribly with the Vim extension. It was one of those like AI coding things where it like gives you suggestions based on like scanning GitHub or whatever. And I had to disable it. It just was too disruptive. But for the most part, like other VS Code extensions work fine. So, okay, let's just run the unit tests. Make sure those all pass. I don't think anything in any of our tests is actually using the sorting stuff. Let's just make sure. Let's see if we can find some code that's already using it. And if there is, we will check it out. If not, we will write some new code that does, so we can test out that those new methods that I added work. We should be able to at least see that they're there. If I go to SG area 2D, there should be an undocumented. Yep, so now we see the new methods are there, but there's no documentation for the new ones. Actually, there's no documentation for the old ones. I must not have written anything for it. I mean, support Vim plugins. Yeah, unfortunately, it does not support Vim plugins. It does not support the like Vim scripting language. So you'd have to see if there is a VS Code plugin that does a similar thing. The clean. I'm playing Apex nowadays. I got a 30 gigabit update and it got 30 gigabits smaller. Source engine magic. That is hilarious. Jakub, would that be the sorcery plugin? I tried it for a while, but didn't really like it. Oh, you're talking about the AI thing. What was it? What was the plugin? It had a number in the name. Let me go over to VS Code. Where is VS Code? Here's VS Code. I actually really liked the suggestions that it gave me. It's like something 5, like code 5 or something like that. Wow, what was it? It gave really fantastic suggestions. And I would love, oh, tab 9. So I tried tab 9. I would have loved to keep using it. It didn't really do anything good for me in GDScript, but in PHP and in C#, it was wonderful, the suggestions that it gave. But the fact that it didn't play well with the Vim plugin was a no-go. I value Vim much higher than I do the AI autocomplete stuff. Okay, so where were we? We were going to grep for some code that is doing get overlapping bodies. Let's look at this a little bigger. And actually, I don't want to grep everywhere. Let's just grep in demo. Not demo. What is it called? Demos. Demos with an S. We only call it once. So in Retro Tank Party, I definitely messed around with the sort property and getting a count. So maybe let's test this actually in Retro Tank Party. We will go quit to project list, open up Retro Tank Party, and I guess I'll have to grep the source code in Retro Tank Party as well. No, it's There we go. My windows are sorted. Let's get to games, retro, tank party. Okay. And get overlapping bodies dot star size. Find me that. I'll move it up so you guys can actually see what I just typed. I may try that. Never been a fan of Vim, no matter how many chances I give it. Well, I've been using Vim since the late 90s as my primary text editor. It actually was only a couple years ago that I started using just a whole bunch of text editors. I started sort of like using an IDE or a text editor depending on the language or environment that I was working in. So like for PHP, I'd use PHP Storm. For C#, I'd use VS Code. And like it just got crazy. And I decided I'm just going to pick like one thing and use that. And VS Code has been okay. It's not my favorite, but I love how customizable it is, and how much easier it is to do advanced things than it is like with Vim plugins. So Vim being my primary text editor for so many years, I had Vim doing crazy things. Like I had it set up to place breakpoints and do like real-time debugging with like a bunch of different frames and all of this stuff for C++ projects. And I had it doing like IntelliSense autocomplete for, I think it was PHP projects, which I gave up when I switched to PHP Storm, and all these really cool things, but it was so much work to make it do it. Like VS Code with Vim key binding is just like so much easier for me to customize and work with because it already does like a lot of stuff that I want it to do anyway. All right, so it looks like the free space detector in Retro Tank Party does the thing that we are essentially replacing with our new methods. So let's go to free space detector. Why are you not finding it? Free space. VS Code is having a meltdown. Source game. You're not finding any of my GD files? Oh, you know what? I think I have two separate workspaces, one for GDScript and one for C++ when I'm working on Retro Tank Party. I think that's what went wrong here. Let's so we'll go Retro Tank Party. Yeah, Retro Tank Party GDScript workspace. I don't know why I did that. I should probably come back at some point and like combine those workspaces to have stuff set up for both C++ and GDScript. Let's get over to our free space detector. And here we are doing get overlapping bodies size equals 0. So we can change this to get overlapping body count equals 0 and get overlapping area count equals 0. And are we ever passing true or false into this? Let's look for dot star false. I never used Notepad++. It's bad. Okay. I've only ever used Notepad++ in the scope of tutorials because I have to show some text editor in my tutorials, and I figured Notepad++ is pretty unoffensive, but maybe not for Gulliver. Rather than showing Vim and having that confuse people. Selvakia says, "What operating system are you using?" Ubuntu. Ubuntu 2004. If you're wondering why my desktop looks like this, it's because I use a window manager called Notion, which is a fork of a window manager called Ion, which I have used since 2001 or 2002. And it's just kind of the way I use the computer now. I've been meaning to look at like new windowing managers, something made like less than 20 years ago, to see like what new cool stuff there is out there for these tiled kind of window managers. But I haven't gotten around to it. All right, let's look for areas false. Cool. So Retro Tank Party should work. The free space detector is used in Retro Tank Party for placing the like boxes that get spawned, the drop crates. So we should be able to test this just by playing for about 20 seconds. Not battle, practice. And waiting for the drop crates to spawn, which I'll attempt to do at the same time as I'm reading your chat. Hey Logan, welcome to the stream! Nyanel is still trying to set up a language exchange. Language exchanges are super fun. I've been meaning to start another one up recently. Salvakia, I was going to ask about the window manager. I use Pop! OS. Oh, technically, I guess I use Pop! OS also. My laptop is from System 76, and they are the ones who make Pop! OS. And yeah, I'm using Pop! OS 2004. Not Ubuntu 2004, but honestly, like other than it installing like the NVIDIA drivers automatically, it seems the same as Ubuntu. Gulliver, sorry, I have a traumatic experience of using Notepad++ with a self-made dialogue system, so it's maybe just my grudge with my with that experience. We all have things like that, I think. Different programs or tools that we can never use again. Okay, so it looks like that's all working. So let's add the XML stuff we need to add to document the new method that we just added. Oh, and I want to see what Logan's character looked like because Logan just joined the stream. What do you got going on? Where's your character? Oh, is the overlay broken? I see no Logan. All right, guys, let's I guess we got to restart the overlay. We're gonna all lose our characters. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, chat connection closed. There was an error in the overlay. So let me kill it and bring it back. Stream tools. Logan got in there first with his RIP. Let me get this working the way it should. What's the button? What's the button? There. All right. Everyone will have to say something to get your characters back. David, do you receive hate mail from people using Kenny assets, or at least they do look like Kenny? Sorry if I'm wrong. I remember that once you had some kind of fight on Steam. So what we were just looking at, what I was just showing you, is actually not Kenny assets. The game, as of the last release, supports several different art packs. This art pack is not from Kenny. It's created by Ross of... what does he call his studio? Whatnottery. Ross of Whatnottery, who also does some online multiplayer games. He's sometimes on the stream. The game now supports Ross's art packs, which you can change in the settings. This SNES inspired one, which we've been looking at. A vector one, which looks like this. And a... oh, that's the classic. We don't want classic. Classic is actually Kenny's assets. The Atari one. Atari inspired, because honestly these graphics are like 1,000 times better than the Atari could produce. But yeah, you are right that the classic artwork uses an art pack from Kenny, and I did get into a really weird interaction with someone on Steam who was basically accusing me of copying a template from Kids Can Code to make this game, because my game and this Kids Can Code tutorial use the same art pack from Kenny. There is no code in common. I did not see the Kids Can Code tutorial until after I had already created the earliest version of the game, when someone pointed out to me on YouTube that, you know, hey, did you follow the Kids Can Code tutorial? No, I didn't even know about that. But yeah, it's really interesting. I was showing this to Logan the other day, but this guy on Steam left this like just crazy comment about how this is a Unity asset flip and I stole the code and all of that. He leaves a dozen, or I mean, not always a dozen. He leaves multiple, sometimes up to a dozen comments like that on Steam games every single day. He has got 6,941 reviews that he's made. Let's see how many he's done today. Where are the dates at? May 13th. That's today, right? Yep. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. He has posted 8 reviews today, thumbs downing games on Steam. Let's take a look at some of the contents here. Blah, blah, blah was a freemium source-based game with pirates, blah, blah, blah. To show that the developers don't quite understand how roughly 1,000 years of progress changes. Okay, I don't know. Whatever. He actually has problems with gameplay there. Okay. I'm looking for another one where he accuses it of being a Unity asset flip. Here we go. He's accused this one of being a Unity asset flip, which maybe it is. I don't know. But like with how many reviews, how many negative reviews that this guy posts every single day, a lot of them very, very similar, accusing people of Unity asset flips, he cannot get them all right, right? What's everybody saying on chat here? Oh my god. Discord, where am I? Where am I in the chat? Kaboom! Fish? Kids Can Code uses Kenny assets, yeah. Do negative reviews on Steam, Google Play affect anything? Yes, they affect how the algorithm decides to show your games to potential buyers. So yeah, that's not good. The Passionate Gamer must be some kind of troll. Yeah, that guy. It's not made by an AI. Seriously, he's writing these every single day, and it's crazy. And I responded to his review, which then he responded to again. Like he's watching what's going on. This dude is intense. I almost have a kind of respect for the level of dedication that this guy has to just hating the crap out of indie games on Steam. It's unbelievable because these are not big games. He is playing like, just loads and loads of like $5 indie games and just tearing them apart. Only for 6 minutes though, of course, right? 0.1 hours on record. Someone else made a comment about that. Anyway, that was a tangent. So we need to add a little bit of docs, and then we can close out this issue. The issue is actually not the one here. It is this one. Add get overlapping bodies count. I changed it to body count because that sounds more grammatically correct. So where is my VS Code for the C++ bit? We need SG area 2D XML. And we are going to make some changes here. So this does not have the sort argument anymore. We can remove the note about sort. And we can add the new methods that we just created. We all have our passions indeed, Logan says. I hate those little bastards downvoting games for stupid reasons. It hurts us as game devs. Just one bad review can influence the success on a project. Yeah. I mean, so, yeah. I mean, I made a joke about it before, but it is not cool. Someone hurting indie game devs like that. But there is something inherently amusing, at least to me, about just the scale at which this guy is doing it. All right, so get overlapping area count. I'm going to say returns the number of overlapping area SG2Ds. If you only need the count, this method is somewhat faster than counting the elements in the array returned by, and I forget the syntax for this. I think we do method space get overlapping bodies. And I'm going to I guess, grep really quick to make sure that I use the right syntax for looking for the Z key? No? What key am I looking for? No? I was trying to find the key that turns on word wrap. So I'd really love to look at this word wrapped. Is it Alt-Z? Alt-Z, there we go. Alt-Z. I'm going to quick grep to see that I did the syntax for this little tag right. Grep for method in, I guess that's build Godot 3 docs. Yes, okay, I did that right. And we'll write a similar message down here. Turns a list of overlapping. Copy this bit of text. Get overlap, or I'm sorry, this one was get overlapping areas, and that one's get overlapping bodies. All right, does that look right? Get overlapping area count. Returns an int, returns number of overlapping ST areas 2Ds. If you only need to count, this method is somewhat faster than counting the elements of the array returned by blur. Same deal down there. I think that looks good. We can recompile it and then check that we did it right by going to the doc page in the Godot editor. So all you need to do is close the old editor here. And compile again, and then I'll check the comments that I believe I saw coming in out of the corner of my eye. Gulliver, hey Snowpeck, I didn't know you used free art packs for your game. I make sprites, so if you could ask me, I'd gladly volunteer. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I may take you up on that. Yeah, I do frequently use at least some free assets. In Retro Tank Party, it was very much on purpose because the goal of that game was, well, I mean, of course, the multiplayer stuff, but also just learning how publishing on Steam works. But honestly, I think there is an overly large stigma associated with using free assets. Like, making games is hard, and in most cases, you are, even if someone used all free assets, you're probably never going to see those same assets used in 2 games together, right? Because there's just so much of it. I think the way that some game developers and some players hate on using free assets, I think is overblown. But that said, I would certainly love to have some custom art for my games, and so yeah, I will ping you. I don't know. I'm running tests. Didn't need to do that. Let's go to help, search help. This was an SG area 2D. And this looks right-ish. If I click this, will it jump to the right method? No. Why not? Is it because we're just too close? There we go. Okay. Beautiful. Yep. Okay. So it looks like all the links are right. I think this is good enough to commit. Let's close an issue. I'm not sure I understand your comment, 9L. It sounded so funny. Anyway, let me. How do I want to do this? Do I want to make an MR or do I want to just push it? I think I might just push it. If I put a the right comment in here, it will get recorded correctly in GitLab, so I don't need to go through the process of making an MR. Although I sometimes do that, like when I want other people to review my changes. So the diff looks good. Let me look at git status. There's nothing in the untracked files we need. Okay, so I'm going to do git commit -a. I'm going to say fixes number 22. And let me look at this one to get inspiration for what the commit message should be. So I'm going to say remove sort argument from get overlapping bodies areas and add get overlapping body area count. All right. We will push those changes, hop over to GitLab, make sure that it got closed. And it got closed and refers to my commit, so we are all good. Oops. There's a misspell in doc owned to and. Thanks for catching that. Let me go fix it. Owned up. You're totally right. Thank you. This is why I like coding on stream. You guys immediately make me smarter than I really am. Catching all the things I don't catch. Fix misspelling in docs. We'll say SG area 2D docs owned to and. Oops. One too many P's in push. How are we doing on time, folks? 11:11. We only have 45 minutes left. How many issues can we close in 45 minutes? Oh, I did see earlier when I was restarting the overlay that Celius turned up for a moment, right? And then I missed his comment in the overlay switching around. Or did I imagine that? Did I imagine that I saw Celius comment something? Maybe it did. I'm not sure. Thanks, Gulliver. Yeah. I will invite you to be a friend. Yeah, so 9L's asking about GitLab versus GitHub. I prefer GitLab strongly. I really like GitLab better. So part of it is that it's open source, and I will always use open source tools rather than proprietary tools when I can, when it's possible. But I really like GitLab. GitLab is great. GitHub is fine. I'll use it when I have to, when I'm contributing to the Godot engine or whatever, but I like GitLab quite a lot more. All right, so we did this issue. The next issue we were talking about doing was this one. We want to have some new methods that tell you not just the body that collided, but the shape that collided. Hey, Litstote. Litstote? I don't know how to pronounce your username. Welcome to the stream. When I fix my internet, I plan to stream for the same reason. Using the hive mind out there on the internet. I know. I don't know why. Open source over proprietary. Absolutely proprietary. Let me get back to doing things here. Okay, so we are heading back into SG Area 2D. We're going to be adding some new methods that return arrays similar to the normal methods, but we're going to name these get overlapping area collisions, get overlapping body collisions. They're going to return an array of objects that we have not defined yet. That is going to be, let's say, SG area 2D collision, which is going to descend from, I think, reference. Should we go for reference? Did that add the include for me? That would be fantastic. No, we still have to add the include ourselves. So, geez, I forget how the includes are laid out in Godot. Is that core reference.h? Yes! Oh! Litstote is also Slovakia. Hey, David. Welcome to the stream. It's been a while since you've been on here. Too bad you're doing this during work hours most of the time. Yeah, so I kind of have to do it during work hours because that's the only time that like I can do it when it wouldn't be like in the middle of the night when I just don't think my brain could handle it. I mean, I should try doing a late night stream again, just see how it goes. But like, I'm a morning person. Generally, when I wake up in the morning, my brain is operating at its highest level, and then it's just all slowly downhill from there. And streaming is hard. It's trickier than it looks. It takes a lot of focus, at least for me. There's probably people for whom it's really natural. All right, so this SG area 2D collision descends from the Godot reference class. It is going to have some references of its own to to the body and to the shape. Do we do those as ref though? I don't think we do because they're nodes, right? Yes, also the kiddos. Although my kids are actually at home today, and I feel a little bit bad because my wife is looking after them while I'm like in here streaming. But they have off school today because of the heat, the unexpected heat that turned up this week. Okay, so I'm trying to remember if we are going to have a reference to a node. Do we do it as ref node, or do we just do it as a pointer to the node because they are not actually references? And so to answer that question, I'm going to go over to SG kinematic body 2D, where we have a similar collision object, and see how I did it there. Oop, but I actually don't want the CPP file, I want the .h file. So we have kinematic body 2D, kinematic collision, where we don't actually have any. Well, we have object. We have get collider. Yeah, I think we just do direct pointers. I think that's what we do. So we need a pointer to the SG collision object 2D, and we need a pointer to the SG collision shape 2D. And then we're gonna have some public stuff. We need a SG collision object 2D returns from get, I guess collision object or just get object. What do we call it on the kinematic body one? We call it get collider. Okay, that's not helpful at all. I'll say get collision object. I like more specific versus less specific. Can we declare that const? I hope so. SG collision shape 2D, which it looks like we do not have the include for that. Include scene 2D SG collision object collision shape 2D. David, keep in mind that you're streaming game dev and not just a simple you're streaming game dev and not just a simple game dev. If you were streaming games or more simple things, it would be much easier. Yeah. If I was just playing, for sure it would be easier. Okay, I added the include, but VS Code is still unhappy. Cannot overload functions distinguished by return type alone. Oh, because I used the same name twice. This is get collision shape. There we go. Okay, and we need a constructor of some kind. So that'll be SG collision object 2D and SG collision, or no, SG area 2D collision. That is the class we're making here. And it is taking a P. I'm already starting to regret that I put the word collision in here. I'm just going to make this get object, get shape. Because like I'm imagining people are going to write code like collision.object, right? And it's obvious that it's a collision object, right? We don't need to have people write collision.collision object. Like that seems verbose. All right, so P object, SG collision, shape 2D, P shape. Oh, and we need the bind methods. So I think that is everything we need to declare this collision class. Now we need to write the code for it, which should be pretty easy. It's just a bunch of a constructor and two accessor methods. There's nothing quite like doing hard thought with an audience. For sure. Yeah, good exercise for the brain and the heart. All the anxiety gets the blood pumping. SG area 2D collision. Bind methods. All right, and we will bind the those accessor methods so that they'll be accessible in GDScript, and we'll also add a property. To do that, I'm just going to copy and paste some stuff from the other one and change some things. So get object, SG area 2D collision, get object. So I need to do get shape. And we're going to add a property, or two properties, property for each of those. So this is variant object, object, no set method, get object. Yep. Get shape. All right, so that should bind those methods and properties so that GDScript can access them. David, do you have a college degree? No, I do not. I went from high school to working as a software developer pretty much directly, with a tiny little interlude working at in the returns department of a chain of computer stores. Where I did actually do some programming also. So I learned to program on my own. Initially, like I learned programming basic on a Commodore 64 when I was like 8, and then went on to learn C and C++ and Java and Python and a bunch of other programming languages on my own, and contributed to open source in the 90s, and was able to use my open source contributions and that experience like I would job experience on resume, and just went straight into programming. I took some classes. I took some college classes, but I don't think like taking like 3 years of Russian classes at the university would really qualify me for anything. All right. We need to actually implement these accessors, so we are returning some SG collision object 2Ds. SG area 2D collision get object const. I see some. I think you mean Gavarish Paruski, but yeah. So I don't really speak much Russian anymore. I can still read it okay. And I did spend some time in, I spent about a month in Belarus and Russia combined. I was like 2 weeks in Belarus, and I went to Russia and spent 2 weeks there. And so there was a period of time when I could have like spoken some okay Russian, but I could still understand it a little bit, can definitely still read it. But I was never that good at Russian. I speak much better Polish. All right, so object get shape. Oh, and I guess when I was in Ukraine, I spent like a weekend in Ukraine. It was a wonderful weekend. I'm extremely saddened by the events in Ukraine, and I spoke some Russian there because I don't speak any Ukrainian, and my attempts at speaking Polish at Ukrainian people was not very successful. So I spoke Russian at Ukrainian people. I wish I could have spoken Ukrainian at Ukrainian people, but. Gavrish Tavarish. So Tavarish is a comrade. You don't speak good Polish, you speak native Polish. Okay, thank you for the kind words. Oh, I missed I missed the thing about streaming anxiety and David saying it could be your cardio for the week. It could be. It could be. Okay, I implemented those methods, I think. I think that's all good. I think we have the object that we're going to return in this array all ready to go. Ukrainian is Polish and Russian mixed together. Kind of, yeah. At least that's the way it seemed to me based on reading it, right? Seeing it on signs and in print and stuff. There were definitely some things that seemed like, oh, that's kind of like borrowed from Polish. But honestly, there's some things that are just really unique to Ukrainian. Like I can't remember any examples right now, but I remember being like just blown away. Like there's some words that are basically the same in like every Slavic language I've ever seen, like Russian, Czech, Slovak, Croatian, and then Ukrainian has like a unique word for it. And I'm just like, what? Like why did you break the streak we were having there? Like, do they have like weird words for like on and ona? Like, I guess I'd have to look it up, but I just remember being like just astonished at some things that were very uniquely Ukrainian. Anyway, what am I doing? We have the object ready. We need to implement the methods that are going to return this object. So I will start those by copying and pasting our existing ones, and then we will change them. So this is get overlapping area collisions and get overlapping body it looks like I misspelled collisions. Collisions I had written. Collisions. Okay, so we'll have to go correct my misspelling. Collisions. I have some Ukrainian friends. Well, I had, yes, as you know, yeah. So when we went to go to Ukraine, we were actually going to visit a friend that we had met in Poland, in Krakow. She had invited us to come visit her sometime, which people always do, right? And then no one ever does it. But we wanted to go on like a weekend trip, and Ukraine, it's right there. We just took a train overnight from Krakow through Lviv, I should say. I have this like really bad habit of saying the Polish names of Ukrainian cities, which I should totally stop doing and say the Ukrainian names. But from Krakow through Lviv to Kyiv, and had a wonderful weekend visiting with our friend. I kind of fell out of touch with her years ago, so I haven't followed up to try and see if she's okay. I hope she's okay. But Kyiv was a wonderful city. We had a really great time. We stayed in a hostel. We went around seeing the sights, and I have this really great picture. It's currently hanging in my daughter's room of me and my wife in the square in Kyiv. Nionel says that he used to live in Krakow. Oh, awesome. I loved Krakow. It was great. You can't say Lviv. It used to be a Polish city. Fine. If we're going to fight over the cities. David, just talking to a coworker from Russia, who's telling me about the propaganda and how he's nearly lost his family to it. Geez, they believe that they are the heroes and the world is all against them. Yeah, this is a heartbreaking time to be alive, honestly. It's crazy, like, the contradictions that exist in our world. Like, some things are so amazing, like science fiction amazing. I have a VR headset laying over here. You can go to a store and buy a giant flat screen TV for $100. There's little tiny computers, Raspberry Pis that cost like, I don't know, $5, $20. You could have a whole bucket full of them that are more powerful than my main computer was back in like the late 90s. Like, there's so many things that are amazing about the world today. And then just like, I don't know, some things that are so unbelievably horrible. And I'm going to try to not get too emotional. We're supposed to be coding here. But like what's going on with Roe v. Wade in the United States, the war in Ukraine. Gulliver is worried that some Russian spammers are going to come after us for saying these things. I hope not, but yeah. Oh yeah, and COVID. I forgot about COVID. Oops. Oh geez. Propaganda saying COVID was created in Ukrainian labs. Geez. Yeah, let's not dwell on these things anyway. I mean, not that I like am against discussing these things, but like I feel like I should discuss that in a personal channel rather than my game development channel. Try and keep some sort of separation between the crushing weight of the world and the wonders of game development. All right. What was I doing? I'm creating these methods. We are writing C++ code over here. And now we need to get to the hard stuff. How much time do we have? 11:30. I think we have enough time to actually finish this. So we need to write some new methods that return not just the areas and bodies, but the shapes, which means I need to look at this code and see what it's doing and see, do we need to make a completely new get overlapping areas method, or can we create like a result handler that takes care of it? Let's look at the existing result handlers and see how those work. So the way that I have the physics engine architected is you like ask it for the collisions, and rather than it giving them to you, you pass it a special class, which is a result handler, which is a method on it gets called to then do whatever it needs to do. And the reason that it works that way is because this is C++, and creating, if we can, we want to avoid creating a whole ton of intermediate data structures, right? One of the wonderful things about C++ is that you're in full control over how memory is allocated and deallocated. So like, I want to take advantage of that, right? I don't want to call a method in the physics engine that returns me a list of collisions, and then I'm going to loop over that list and allocate a brand new list that has like if I needed to filter those collisions, like if I'm checking the collision masks, or I'm I don't know, checking the exceptions or whatever. So instead we're using this handler kind of pattern, which allows us to basically stream the data more or less. We're asking for the results. The results are being passed one by one to this handler, which in the simplest case just pushes it on a list, or in a more complex case will actually filter or process the data in some way, right? So it actually looks like, looking at this sorted array handler, that we are going to need to make some fundamental changes because it's being handed only the object, and we're going to need to have these result handlers be passed not just the object but also the shape in question. So I'll have to dig a little deeper. I'm just going to take a peek at chat. Yeah, maybe let's shift the current conflict talk post-stream. I do wonder if you'll ever come back to Bibliobird and your Polish YouTube. I would like to come back to my Polish YouTube. I had actually wanted at the new year to create a new video for my Polish YouTube, basically to say like what happened to Bibliobird, what happened to me in the interim, what I'm doing now, and then maybe I could make some videos for that channel again. It still has like thousands more subscribers than my game dev YouTube channel, but I don't think I'm going to go back to Bibliobird. I invested just an insane amount of time in it for many years, and I would love if it was still on the internet. That would have been great. I think I told the story already of why it isn't, but I don't think I have the time and the energy to make it go again. I can only do like one thing, one thing aside from work and family, and right now that's game dev. So, All right, so our result handler, we're gonna need to change this, which means we're gonna need to change a whole bunch of other things. It needs to also take the SG collision shape internal. Is that what it's called? Or is it just shape internal? SG shape 2D internal, P shape. And that's going to break everything until we update things. But we'll start here. So this is our result handler abstract class. C++ does not have interfaces. So like a pure abstract class is kind of how you create an interface in C++. So that's what this is. And we need to go to the code that actually calls these things, which I guess is our get overlapping areas, get overlapping shapes, which goes even deeper. This SG overlapping result handler. Oh man, this change is like echoing like all the way up the object hierarchy here. We have this other set of result handlers. Oh, okay, no, it's the same. Okay, it's the same interface, but it's a different bunch of result handlers. I guess we're chaining them. We're like piping them together. So this one needs to take SG shape 2D internal P shape, and I guess we just need to pass it on. Or wait, no. How do we even? Okay, at this point, we don't know anything about shapes. Oh, this is a mess. I don't know that we're going to be able to finish this in 30 minutes. Not because like the actual change is hard, but we have to change the architecture of just so many things to get the information. Okay, back to our result handler internal. So if we're using the same like faux interface, the same abstract class for this result handler as the other one, that kind of doesn't make any sense because at this point we only know the objects. We don't know the shapes. So we're going to have to make two different like result handler things. Or maybe we just pass null for one of them? What's everyone saying in chat? You told us the Metro fun fact, Nyanel, on a different stream, actually. David asks, is this for the VR Voxel Builder game? No, this is for SG Physics 2D, my deterministic physics engine, which Nyanel also just answered. I shouldn't say anything at all. I should let you guys do this stream. You guys do it better. No, I really wanted to work on the VR Voxel Builder thing, but I've gotten kind of behind on fixing and dealing with issues and support requests for some of my open source projects like SG Physics 2D, so we're checking that out. And I'm going to be doing the Godot Wild Jam starting later today. So I wanted to kind of get that in before I was going to be fully occupied with the jam. So back to thinking about architecture here. So when this gets called, there's going to be no shape because we don't know anything about shapes. And that's because we are passing this to the first step is asking the broad phase for all of the nearby collision bodies, right? That's how we're making sure to only check for collisions for bodies that are close to each other. We're asking the broad phase. And the broad phase knows nothing about shapes. It only knows about collision bodies. So either we make two result handler abstract classes, one that's going to be used by the broad phase and one that's going to be used by things that are querying the SG world 2D, or we use the same one, but we pass null in for the shape argument, which maybe I think that's what I'm going to do for now, just because it's easier. But then that means that here, at this point, when we're checking if these two objects overlap, we need to somehow find out what shape overlapped. And how are we going to do that? Let's look in the SG World 2D overlaps method. This actually knows the shape. This knows the shape. And it already has a way to return it. Beautiful. Beautiful. We can pass this body overlap info structure. I think it's a class. I don't remember if it's a structure or a class, but same thing really in C++. And it will give us back the collider shape. Okay. So let's take advantage of that. Where was I a second ago? I was in the result handler here. No. Oh my gosh, I'm just lost. Let me work my way back here. Get overlapping areas. I'm just gonna go down the same rabbit hole I went to get there in the first place. So I pressed get overlapping bodies, and then I pressed SG overlapping result handler. All right, so we only need to make a relatively minor change here. It's like SG body collision something, collision detector interface. Oh my god. Okay, we're gonna do a Vim thing. We're gonna type MA, which will mark this spot with the A character, so we can return here later after I inevitably get lost again. So here we are. The structure is called, okay, SG World 2D internal body overlap info. Then I can press backtick A, which totally didn't work. Backtick A, there we go, to take me back to where I was. Vim tips for anyone who is interested in Vim. So that was SG World 2D internal body overlap info. This is going to be overlap info, and then we pass that in, or a reference to that, or pointer to that, into overlap info. And then from here, we will say overlap info dot collider shape. There we go. So we now have a way for this result handler to get the actual shape that collided, pass it to the other result handler. Now, I think all we need to do is go fix everything that we just broke by changing the definition of this this method in this abstract class. Will you actually stream the Wild Jam? I will. I will. Not the whole thing, obviously, but next week Friday, the jam will still be going on. So on my stream day on Friday during my usual time, I will stream work on whatever my jam game is. Maybe I can convince Logan to get in on it too. I don't know. I'm planning to team up with Logan on the Godot Wild stream, or Godot Wild Jam. That would be intense. I would say he should ignore chat if he does stream. Even if there's a stream time lapse, would be neat. I've worked. Oh yeah, David and I worked on a game jam project together. It was the let me get over to my itch. It is the Paperboy knockoff with where you're delivering presents to houses rather than papers. Whoa! Oh, I totally got it. Here we go. There we. Did I get it? I got it. I'm acing this game. See if I can. Can I perfectly do level 1? Come on, come on. Oh no, no, no! No! Okay, I failed. But yeah, David and I. Oop, not my emails. Eep, sorry. David and I made that for a jam. Was it end of 2019? It was like Christmas time 2019, I think. I see Snowpick doing all this work while I use workaround to not need determinism for rollback. Hope one way to have the will to. Well, I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of valid arguments to not go for rollback and determinism beyond just like feeling like it's hard or overwhelming. In a lot of cases, it is actually the right choice. So I don't know. I don't think that's a question of hard work necessarily. I was just really interested, I guess, in rollback. I certainly could have done Retro Take Party without doing rollback, and I could have made a just as fun game. Anyway, okay, let's go repair the world. Let's repair the world that we broke, specifically our SG World 2D internal. Over here, we're calling a result handler. Okay, so we have to fix this result handler. It now has handle result, needs to take a SG collision, or no, SG shape 2D internal, P shape, which we are going to expect to be null, I think, in this case. What is this result handler doing? Best overlapping result. So this one is not passing off to another result handler, right? What is this actually even doing? It's doing a bunch of comparisons. Ultimately, it's just returning if it's overlapping or not. Okay, I hope this tiny change was enough to make that work. I guess we'll find out when it works or fails. So where's the next one? We have some broken ones up in here. I want to go to array sorted result handler. This one needs to also take an SG shape 2D internal P shape. And it's just going to ignore it. It doesn't use it in this one. So we have another one. We do another one right here. This needs to also take SG shape 2D internal P shape. Also doesn't need to do anything with it. I guess we'll probably end up implementing a new result handler that looks just like this, but instead of producing an array of collision objects, it's going to produce an array of those. Oh my God, those objects that we named collision, not to be confused with collision objects. So we'll call this sorted collision array result handler. This will be our new one. And we're going to have a list of SG area 2D collisions, which we'll need to make new ones here. So SG area 2D collision equals mem new SG area 2D collision. I think that's how you pass arguments. I forget. It's been so long since I've been in C++. I think this is right. The right way to use mem new. And then we pass in, ooh, this needs a name. Say collision. Collision. No default constructor. Okay, so that's not how you do a constructor. How the heck do you do a constructor for mem new? I know I've done it. I don't remember. I'm going to grep for mem new, which is going to find a million results in the Godot code base. Oh, okay. That's how you do it. All right. You do mem new, and then you do this again. Another set of parens. At least that's the way it looked like. No instance of constructor, SG area 2D collision, SG argument list. Oh, because it's taking not the internal object, but okay. So then that's another, we have to convert from the internal object to the version of the object that's exposed to Godot. So that's this get data. We better have a get data on this one. No! Shape does not have a get data. The never-ending architectural changes here. So we need to cast this to SG collision object to D. So this is converting from the internal object from the physics engine to the Godot exposed object that GDScript gets to see, which we can't do for shapes because apparently we're not tracking that info. SG shape to D CPP. Oh no, this is the wrong shape. We need SG shape 2D internal. Oh, no, we are tracking that information. Or no, wait, no, that's the object. Ah. No, we're not tracking that information. Lame. What's going on in chat? David said, trying to downplay his contribution by saying he only did some map editing. No, I mean, so yeah, David created the maps in that Paperboy knockoff Christmas game. But I mean, also like there was a collaboration on the design and certainly in testing and lots of things. I think I did. I don't recall if you did any coding. I think I did all the coding. Yeah, there's not even a lot of code in that game, to be honest, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun making that game with you, David. Okay, so shapes now need to know some arbitrary data, which how are we storing that? Go to SG collision. What time is it? Okay, we've got about 10 minutes. SG collision object. I don't think we're going to be finishing this thing, but we'll be well on the way. I'll save a branch for it and I'll come back to it post stream so we can actually get, whose issue was it that we were working on? We were working on this issue for Ansh Sharma. Sometime after the jam, we'll get it finished. So where's the data? There's like some arbitrary data. Oh no, this is SG collision object internal is what we need. Collision object internal. Where are the internal objects? Transform rect to collision object 2D internal. What okay, we'll do the other kind of search. SG collision object 2D internal. Can you find me something VS Code? This is supposed to be a project-wide symbol search. And it seems like it found something. I hope. Nope, it just found a forward declaration. Let's try that again. Do I have to type the whole thing again? Oh, that's so annoying. Okay, let's do this a different way. We'll look in the internal directory. Bodies, SG bodies internal. That's got to be it. Okay, so I stored a void pointer to data. We'll do the exact same thing here. And I think it just has like a getter and setter method. And we'll do the same again. So the idea here, for anyone who's wondering, is we have sort of two layers to the physics engine. We have the internal objects, which it uses to do all of the mathy physics stuff. And then we have another set of objects which are exposed to Godot and like this are part of the like object hierarchy in Godot, and you can use from GDScript. And we're kind of like syncing data back and forth between them, where the Godot objects know everything about the internal physics engine objects, but the internal physics engine objects know nothing about the Godot objects. And that is very important because at one point, I am going to create a Godot 4 version of this with a completely different set of Godot 4 code that's going to use the exact same internal physics engine code. So when we need the shape in this case, or the I guess this is the object, but we're modifying the shape. When we need the shape to be able to relate itself back to the Godot object, we have to store a void pointer, which in C++ is just a pointer to anything. I don't know what it is, and expect the thing using it to know what it is and be able to cast it back to something that makes sense in the Godot side. Does that make any sense? I hope so. I feel like I kind of went in circles there. So this needs to be public. We'll put it maybe, I guess, below this stuff. So just some getters and setters for this data. And then we need to make sure when the shape is actually created, the Godot object gets assigned here, so we have that reference back. So that would happen in the Godot shape, I think. SG shape 2D is, yeah, okay, so this has its create internal shape method, which is responsible for creating the physics engine side. This is the Godot side, you can tell because it has all the like GD class and all that stuff here, descending from the Godot resource class. So let's go to each of these. We need to find all of the create internal shape methods, and we need to store this extra bit of data. So we're going to create a new circle, call it internal set data, and then it's going to be a pointer to this, to the Godot object. Then we return it. Nano says, I'm surprised at all that you have time for jams considering the fact that you have work and family to watch over. Yeah. I haven't actually done a jam since, I think I did one last year. So I don't really have a lot of time for jams. But I don't know, I started getting the craving to do one, and I don't know. I'm excited to collaborate with Logan, who I've been chatting with about game design stuff a lot recently, and I don't know. I'm excited to finally do one again. This may be the only one I do for the next year. So this is an SG capsule 2D internal. We are again doing the exact same thing. We're just setting data to a void pointer of this and returning it. Get to the next one. Rinse and repeat. I keep pressing $sign before timing variables. You can tell I've been writing mostly PHP code all week. And that's all of them. Okay, so now the shapes, the internal shapes now know what Godot shape they refer to. So we can go back to, what was that? SG world 2D. This is our internal physics world. Most physics engines call them, or not maybe most, but some call them spaces. Godot's built-in physics engine calls them spaces. I went with the term world. No, it wasn't here. We were working on the result handler that SG Area 2D is going to use, and it was this right here. It needed some way to convert from the internal shape to the Godot shape so that we can expose the result to Godot. We added that. So SG shape. Yeah, it's SG shape 2D, right? There we go. What? No suitable conversion from SG area collision 2D to SG area collision const. Oh, I just forgot a asterisk. right? Why is there still a little underline over here? No instance of constructor SG area 2D collision matches the arguments list. SG collision object 2D, SG shape 2D. Isn't that exactly what the constructor is? SG collision object 2D, SG collision shape 2D. This is even more complicated than I thought. Okay, so we have also the separation between the collision shape node and the shape resource. And what we want is the node and not the resource. And I just added that junk to the resource. Okay, let's go take a look at the node, which actually maybe this can make the code simpler. Okay, so somewhere in here, it's calling create internal shape. So this is where we should be setting the data. Internal shape set data, which is going to be a void pointer to the collision shape node and not the resource. So what we've got to do is basically go back to the shape 2D resource and remove all the crap we just added, which we might be able to get Git to do for us very quickly, I hope. So that was the resources, SG shape 2D. So show me the differences. Thank you, Git. I want to make this window be big. Why is it not making it big? There we go. And the only changes present here are those changes we want to get rid of, which means we can do git checkout dash dash that. So that should be good. We have undone the changes that we shouldn't have done and put in the change we should have done. So let's go back once again to SG area 2D. And here we need to cast this not to SG shape 2D, which it most certainly is not now that we have set it to the SG collision shape 2D. Whew. So actually, now that I've done that, let me double check something really quick. So we're doing this based on the assumption that the Godot version, that we're matching the way that the Godot built-in physics engine works. And let me just make sure that that's actually true. What's a project I can open that I can poke at it? I don't know. Anything. Even my VR Voxel Builder, it's fine. Open that up. And what I want to look at, we'll just temporarily make a scene we're not going to save. I want to look at an area 2D node and check its signals. And what it's passing is the shape entered, shape exited is actually passing the resource. But the resource doesn't mean anything. In our world, in the SG Physics 2D world, I think we want to pass the node. I'm sticking with the node here. It's passing an RID. But we're going to do the node. Hopefully that'll work for the user that requested this. I probably this one I will make an MR so that it can get some review by the community before I commit it to make sure that this actually does like what people want. Okay. So we need to just go. So this method here, we copy and pasted it from the old sorting result handler. How much time do we got? No time at all. I've gone 4 minutes over. Okay, let me just fix this code. And I'm going to take a couple extra minutes and see if we can't just finish this. So this is now an SG area 2D collision. And here we need to not do get data, we need to do get object. And then if no, we don't need to do this here. Okay, the sorting. Oh, we need a new sort comparator thinger. Oh, okay, I'm not gonna finish this. Sorry, everyone. I hope this was interesting in any case, that we didn't quite get around to making this thing actually work. There's a whole bunch that still needs to be done, and it seems like the more I work on it, I find more things that need to be done just to wedge this other thing in here. But we need to change the sort thing. We need to make a new comparator class to do the sorting now that we have this different type of object in the list. Need to do, you know, some cleanup over here to make this work the way we're expecting. And then we need to actually, down in these new methods, start using the new stuff. Maybe I'll do that just so I don't forget to do it later. So this is SG sorted collision array result. SG sorted collision array result. And I think I just got to commit this to a branch and call this stream a stream. But there's some, I feel like even if we didn't get a lot done on this stream, there was a lot of good conversation. Thanks everyone for hanging out and chatting. Let me just make this branch. So this is, we'll call it get overlapping shapes. And we'll add some code in here. Just take a peek at the diff. We are maybe another 30 minutes away from making this work. So, let me commit that. Started adding SG area to D, get overlapping area / body collisions. Get overlapping shapes, pushing it away, pushing it off to GitLab, shipping it such as it is. Whew. Well, yeah. Thanks again. If anyone else is doing the Godot Wild Jam, it would be great to you know, hang out and share notes as we are both going through it. And yeah, I'll be on Discord. You know where to find me. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next stream next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.